We see the pivot back into Grimer, and in this battle of poison types, one of these two Pokemon has been buffed in Season 22, having access to the very good charge move of Sludge. The other one, very bulky, very boring, and looks somewhat like a nipple. Grimer fires off one Mud Slap and the Mud Bomb rocks Toxapex into the red health range. Grimer looks for that Mud Slap farm down and able to get it and leaves with a charge move. The opponent thinking about what to send out, back out comes the hot air balloon, and Grimer gonna claim back-to-back victims. Welcome back to the channel. Today we really do have a video of two halves, or maybe a buy one get one free combo. The first half of the video we're going to be taking a look at level 50 Shadow Alolan Grimer in the Remix Cup. These battles have been submitted to the channel by my friend Alpha Club. The second half of the video we're going to be running the same back line, but instead of the Alolan Grimer we're going to be taking a look at my own battles with a level 51 Kanto Grimer. Of course, both of these Pokemon are insanely expensive to build, costing over 650,000 Stardust. So today we answer the question, are they worth the massive investment? Before we get into today's video, a few of you might have seen my community post that I did post a couple of days ago now. This isn't going to be the end of the channel by any means. However, I am taking on a new role at work, which means I'm going to have a lot less free time. Of course, we do try and post content every day on the channel. Not that I'm able to hit that due to my family commitments, but I usually average about 5 or 6 videos a week. Moving forward from June, it'll probably be around 3. Today's video is going to be a sneak peek into the type of content I'm looking to bring to the channel. Of course, I'm replicating a team that Alpha Club sent me. He only sent me 5 battles. I could have just posted that, but the video would be about 8 minutes long. We like to make videos worth watching around the 20 to 25 minute mark as a bare minimum. So with that in mind, moving forward, if you manage to submit me 5 battles with a spicy or triple shadow team, I will go out, replicate it, and you can see not only your own battles, but me try your team too. With that being said, without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, Alpha Club is off to a tough start, leading Alolan Grimer into Fickersby. He says no thank you, say switches into Raticate. The big fat rat gonna strike first, firing off the Crunch. Crunch lands some decent damage, but unfortunately no defense drop occurs. Even the shadow version of Raticate, pretty bulky, we're easily able to tank the Scorching Sands, and thankfully we don't get attack drop. The opponent sends out Alolan Marowak. Marowak gonna be greeted with the Crunch. Crunch forced to protect shield. The opponent is gonna get a very nice Fire Spin farm down. This kind of puts us in a tricky spot, to be honest. Alpha Club could sponge the damage on Grimer, which it looks like he's going to do, but unfortunately these Bone Clubs will be super effective. Despite this being some Shadow and Shadow action, one Bone Club is survivable. It looks like we're just completely sacking Grimer, putting all our hopes and dreams on Greninja. So in battle number 1, do you want to spend 650,000 Stardust on essentially a 3rd and 4th shield? Potentially not, but let's give it a chance. We send out Greninja. Greninja going to overfarm, fire off the Night Slash, looking to remove Marowak from the field of play. Down goes AWAC. We get the boost. Back out comes Fickersby. Alpha Club doesn't even overfarm by much whatsoever. Fires off the Hydro Cannon, removing Fickersby from the field of play. The opponent's final Pokemon is Dusknoir, and we all know how this one's going to end. We're now at the double Night Slash. Night Slash goes unshielded, picking up that one-hit KO, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see a battle of dark types. This would be a good matchup for Grimer if we wasn't running Frustration, as we're hitting for neutral with the poison jabs, and the Sludge Bomb would also hit for neutral and do a lot. Grimer, much like his evolution muck, also has access to gunk shots. You can also throw some trash cans if that's more your style. Alpha Club tanks the last resort, looks to catch the second last resort, onto our Say Switch and Raticate. Of course, this is an ABB team where we're going to look to bait out any potential Charmer or Fighter with our Say Switch Raticate. It looks like the opponent has neither of them. They send out Skunk Tank. Alpha Club full send him the Hyper Beam. Hyper Beam! Bang! There it is. Shout out to the Go Oxford U for that quote. Skunk Tank straight in and straight out. Umbreon re-enters the arena, fired off the last resort, but this Raticate just refusing to die. Able to reach the departing Crunch, leaving Umbreon on a sliver of HP. Raticate absolutely popping off in this battle. The opponent fire off the foul play, which isn't lethal. Able to quick attack farm down. Out comes Skeledirge. We send out Greninja. The opponent like, no thank you, you've got me. And they concede the match. What a win. Heading into the next battle, we've got yet more Shadow on Shadow crime. Oof. We got a huge amount of lag, but I think we did actually catch up as Dragonite's health rapidly declined there. Alpha Club goes to one shield, looks for the farm down. Oh my days. Imagine spending 650,000 Stardust and you're unable to even fast move beat down a glassy Shadow Dragonite. Let's see if Alpha Club can get himself back into the game. We send out Raticate. We was able to get a small energy lead, quick attack farming down Dragonite, and out comes Corviknight. Despite our quick attacks being resisted here, this is more of a neutral matchup, so it's not like Sand Attacks does any damage either. Normal offensively is such a dreadful typing. It's nothing for super effective, but resisted by Rock, Steel, as well as Ghost types. The opponent sends out Swampert, Raticate putting in so much work in this battle as well as the last one, fires off the Crunch, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield, and Greninja hits the field of play. Alpha Club with one Protect Shield, gonna invest it, blocking up the incoming Sludge. He then fires off one Water Shuriken, or Shuriken, and the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon off isn't quite lethal, and the opponent gets what can only be described as DRE, or Damage Registration Error. That's not how the game's intended to work. We should have farmed them down, and they should have died with the charge move. But we all know this game is pretty crappy at times, and unfortunately this one is going to end in heartbreaking defeat, but GG's regardless. Heading into the next battle, we see Alolan Marowak in the lead. Despite us being a dark type, this is not a good matchup. Although the opponent clearly doesn't know that, as they say switching to something that is a great matchup for us as outcomes for it. Despite this Grimer being heavily excelled, it's still a very glassy Pokemon. We're able to tank the Swift, fire off the Crunch, force the Protect Shield. Alpha Club looks like he's just happy to stay in and just going to sacrifice Grimer. Oh wait, hold that thought, we're actually going to invest the Protect Shield. Alpha Club over farms, fires off the Crunch, will be moving them from the field of play. And we are looking to spam the switch, pivoting into Raticate. The opponent looked more than content to stay in and going to fire off a Bone Club before likely pivoting out. Unlike Grimer, Raticate really bulky. I think Raticate is such a slept-on pick. Let's not get distracted. Out comes Guzzlord. Please no shield trainer. Hyper Beam! Oh, go shielded. Who shields that, honestly? The opponent deployed probably the biggest Protect Shield of their GBL career. I think with that, this one is going to end in defeat. Can Greninja close the show? You can see these Dragon Tails tearing us apart. Alpha Club with one Protect Shield, two high behind. Going to invest it here. The opponent fire off the Brutal Swing bait. Greninja heavily over farms, fires off the Hydro Cannon. Does Hydro Cannon two-shot? Oh, it looks pretty close to be honest. Back out comes Marowak. We look to knock him out with a Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon gets the opponent low. We're able to Water Shriek and farm down, leaving with the Hydro Cannon. Is this Hydro Cannon enough to knock out Hydro Cannon? No, isn't lethal. And I think catching there is going to lose us the game. Oh, so the opponent actually threw there, so if we would have let Greninja go down, we could have Poison Jab farm down, but it is what it is. GG's to both trainers. Heading into the next battle, we see Tinkaton in the lead position. The opponent pivots into Dragonite as they got a one-turn switch. Surely we can one-shield and farm down this time, right? Come on, Grimer. Alpha Club actually banks his energy, sends out Raticate. This should only be a Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw going to hit for neutral, whereas the super would be double super effective. Raticates look pretty bulky to this point of the video, but just the Dragon Breaths and that Dragon Claw put us deep into the red health range. Back out comes Tinkaton. We fire off the Crunch. Crunch doesn't do much of anything, and the opponent is going to get a very nice Fairy Wind farm down. Tinkaton, somewhat of an issue for this variation of the team. Obviously, objectively better if you're going to run the Kanto Grimer running Mud Slap. We're actually able to force a Protect Shield. Firing off a Crunch was at least something. Opponent fire off the Bulldoze, and it's all down to Greninja to clean up. Greninja hits the field of play, wastes no time, goes straight for the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent then banks some energy, send out Gyarados, running Waterfall. Greninja's bulk really is going to be put to the test. Despite these Waterfalls being resisted, they don't really look like it. Alpha Club farms up, fires off the Night Slash on the charge attack priority. Night Slash picks up the knockout. Greninja able to survive two further Fairy Winds, reach the Hydro Cannon and pull off a very nice sweep. GG's and thanks for playing. Huge shout out to Alpha Club for bringing us those battles. If you're interested, I do also have an Alolan Grimer maxed out at level 50 and mine hasn't got frustrations. If you want to see it at its full potential, post it down below and I'll head to battle. Heading into the next battle, these are of course from myself. We see Grimer into Charger Bug, running Double Dark in the back. Nice to catch the bug type in the lead position. So there, I didn't actually throw out the best timing. I gave away 2 free turns. I could have thrown just 5 Mud Slaps, giving the opponent 1 free turn, but I was kind of hoping the opponent pivoted out and I could bank this energy. The opponent actually fired out back-to-back crunches. I double shield, do bank some energy, and then send out Greninja. Of course, as I'm on an ABB team, I do need to keep my leader eye on any potential fighter or fairy they might have lurking in the back. The opponent sent out Diggersby. We fire off the Hydro Cannon. We're able to survive the Scorching Sands, and here I'm intentionally not throwing. I'm already down a Protect Shield, so what I don't need to do is give the opponent an energy lead as well. So instead I let the opponent take me out and look to get an energy lead on my Raticate. Raticate hits the field of play, the opponent not wanting to concede a farm down, a send out Dugong. Hyper Fang does do slightly more, but Crunch of course does have a 30% chance for defense drop. I try and sneak the Hyper Fang through the Protect Shield unsuccessfully. We've already seen Raticate is very bulky from Alpha Club's battles. This is likely an Icy Wind debuff. The opponent going to fire off that debuff. I then reset my debuff, go for a CMP sack swap, fire off the Sludge, win in charge attack priority, and do deplete Dugong of its energy. The opponent could of course undercharge, and looks like that's exactly what they do. They send out Charger Bug. Charger Bug gonna be straight in and straight out. We go for the Bad Manners Mud Bombers. Either move will be lethal. Dugong re-enters arena. Ice Shard farms down. I throw 2 quick attacks, not taking the Ice Shard. Crunch will be moving Dugong from the field of play. We're going to be able to outpace the returning Diggersby, and we are going to be off to a 1-0 start. GG's, and thanks for playing. I've actually had so much fun this season trying out other people's teams that they've submitted to me. I think it puts me outside of my comfort zone and tries to get me to play a bit better than I would, and gets me used to Pokemon I'm unfamiliar with. In the next battle, I see Toxapex in the lead position. Out comes Claydol, and I send out Raticate. One Rock Tomb is survivable. I am going to invest a Protect Shield and look to at least force a Protect Shield and get Claydol in a range where I can potentially Water Shriek and farm down. I'm going to be using Greninja as the closer. We've already seen that thing is lethal. Here I do throw out suboptimal timing, anticipating losing CMP to Claydol. I actually looked this matchup afterwards, and Raticate actually does have the higher attack, 107 for Rat compared to 102 for Claydol. So by using someone else's team, I've now learned some new knowledge that's going to help me moving forward. I send out Greninja, I'm going to go for the Hydro Cannon, guaranteeing the knockout on this unshielded Claydol, and then pivot out into Grimer. The opponent sends out yet another Dugong, but unlike the last matchup, this Dugong has no shields to hide behind Sludge, instantly going to put them below half health. I've still got a shield to hide behind. This is almost certainly going to be an Icy Wind bait, but I know no bait will be saving this Dugong's fate. I'm going to shield up the Icy Wind, I'm then going to farm up, throw the Sludge on the charge attack priority, and Dugong will be getting vanquished from the battlefield. I'm really hoping my switch timer pops up so I can reset this debuff before dumping energy. Unfortunately, after 3 further Mud Slaps, switch timer still isn't up, so I throw the Mud Bomb. We then pivot into Greninja, and the opponent's going to be forced to dump a Sludge Wave. If the opponent does that, we can fire off 1 Mud Slap and the Mud Bomb, and from this range, Mud Bomb should more or less knock out. Let's see, is Mud Bomb enough? Not quite, but 1 further Mud Slap, going to get the job done, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see another Toxapex in the lead. You love to see it. The opponent save switches into their own Greninja, something I don't love to see. I'm going to shoot at the Hydro Cannon. I'm thinking, what do I want to do here? I'm going to bank a bucket load of energy and then send out Raticate. I'm hoping we can just quick attack farm them down before the next Hydro Cannon's reached. Is that achievable? Oh, no it's not. I'm going to opt to go down both Protect Shields just to keep that super positive alignment. We've got energy on Rat, energy on Grimer, but the opponent has a 2-0 shield advantage. We fire off the Hyper Fang. Here, this is definitely a misplay. Whilst it does do more, I think you should always throw the Crunch and fish for that 30% chance for defense drop. We are going to fire off the Crunch this time. If this goes unshielded, they're more or less going to be in Mud Slap farm down range. We're able to force the first protection off the opponent. They pivot out into Umbreon. It's time to start unleashing some of this energy. We're going to fire off the Sludge. We're then going to look to catch a Dark Pulse or Foul Play onto Greninja where it will be resisted. Both me and my opponent are running more or less the same ABB team, Poison Double Dark. But mine's the fun version, theirs is the bulky version, so if I lose this battle I'm going to be super sad. Greninja might be glassy, but Umbreon hits like a wet noodle, so able to survive the last resort. I'm then going to return fire with this Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon goes unshielded. We're then going to farm up for the Night Slash on the CMP tie. Night Slash is resisted, but will be lethal and also covers for a catch. Night Slash goes unshielded. I pivot into Grimer. Again, Toxapex simply doesn't hit hard enough. We're going to be able to survive the Brine. We throw 1 Mud Slap and the Mud Bomb. At this point, we're doubled up. We saw in the last battle, Mud Bomb does around 40%, so this should be Mud Bomb range. However, you're going to see this Toxapex is bulking the last one, so not going for optimal timing almost cost me the game. Don't be a potato like me, always for optimal timing, but regardless, we're able to emerge victorious, heading into the next battle. We see Swalot in the lead, Grimer winning all the leads. However, I did run Grimer previously. Some of you might have heard me complaining how I lost every single lead and didn't see a single poison type in the lead position. I think this is kind of why I don't believe in the algorithm. That day was rough, and in this day, these battles are just in the order I played them. Grimer was winning lead after lead. The opponent say switched into Furret. I invested Protect Shield, banked my energy. We then sent out Raticate. The opponent went for a Trailblaze, which allowed me to overfarm before firing off Crunch, removing them from the field of play. Back out comes Swallow. We land the Crunch, and the opponent is going to fire off a Sludge, looking to remove Raticate from the field of play. Sludge does exactly that. Of course, I'm going to send out Grimer. As we've got energy banked, we know the opponent's going to pivot out, and I might look to chip and dip. The opponent sends out Golurk, and this chip and dip is paramount. I think sometimes I don't chip and dip enough. The reason I need to chip and dip here is, as now we're in the 1-to-1 shield, this is actually only a Shadow Punch, but do I care? Absolutely not. I'm just going to farm up to the double Night Slash. The opponent can really pick their poison. I think wherever they shield, we're home and dry. The opponent putting it all on Swallow again. We're going to full send the Hydro Cannon, guarantee massive damage, or looking to just remove them from the field of play. The opponent invests that Protect Shield. Sludge will be removing Greninja from the field of play. However, I don't think we're even in Ice Beam range, but even if we are, we're going to outpace to this Mud Bomb, and Mud Bomb is going to be all she wrote. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, you can see when I first take on a new team, of course, especially when it's someone else's team, I'm not particularly familiar with it, and I think the battles kind of get better as I get used to the team. However, I don't actually cut out the battles, or I don't play optimally. You always see them in the order that I play them, and I think these battles are really where some learning can be done, as I always talk through what I could have done better. So if you're going to attempt to replicate this team, you'll know the plays to make, unlike me who's playing them blind. This battle is actually a perfect example of that. This is a very winnable game. The opponent say switches into a Charmer, into my poison type. So here what I should do is bank this energy and send out Raticate and look to bait out the second Charmer. If I do that, you can see we're easily going to be able to reach a Hyper Fang. So Hyper Fang either forces the final Protect Shield or cleanly knocks them out. If we force the Protect Shield, we just sludge them to the face. We then got Greninja at full health, aligned against Steelix. However, I did neither of them, and because I'm a potato and misplayed, this one is going to end in heartbreaking defeat. But it's a very, very winnable game. You can see just 3 charms do like, I don't know, 80% of my health. We're not going to be able to reach a Hydro Cannon at the return in Steelix, and unfortunately this one is going to end in heartbreaking defeat, but it's definitely a winnable game. So I should have just banked that Mud Bomb, sent out Raticate, and as I said, either knock them out or force that shield, then Sludge, and then we got Greninja at full health versus that Steelix. However you live and learn. Heading into the next battle, we see Grimer into Furret. We bank some energy, make the pivot into Raticate, and once again we bait out a Charmer. Very nice to bait this thing out, so Greninja doesn't have to see it. You can see Hyper Fang does a decent amount of damage. I'm really hoping this isn't my second consecutive double charm team back to back, or if it is, that's going to be rough. An argument could be made that I should shield this Psychic Fangs. However, I'm going to credit my opponent and say they're not going to be a degenerate. I don't want to leave Greninja down on protection. We're going to bank all this energy, send out Greninja, and Golurk hits the field of play. It's not a Charmer, but it is yet more fast move pressure. We are going to be able to force both Protect Shields of the opponent, but I'm just far too low. Double Night Slash forces both Protect Shields. I'm going to fire off the BM Sludge. Why? Because even if I knock this thing out, we're not getting rid of that Furret, and this one ends in heartbreaking defeat. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Spiritomb in the lead position. I instantly pivot into Raticate, and out comes Primate. I'm going to fire off this Crunch before the opponent look to knock me out with a close combat. You can see that a Crunch actually gets the opponent super low, putting them in a range where one Mod Slap will be lethal. So if the opponent's smart, they'll actually fire off the close combat. Despite it being resisted, it will do more than a neutral Rage Fist. The opponent does fire off that close combat, and ouch, that hurt. As that mid-game matchup was so quick, I'm still switch locked, so I'm going to fire off the Sludge, not only forcing Protect Shield, but also stalling the timer, and Greninja hits the field of play. But instantly going to get debuffed with a Rock Tomb, which is super annoying. I'm going to fire off 3 Water Shriekens and the Hydro Cannon, looking to maintain disciplined fast move time. And I'm sure you've heard me say it time and time again, using a 3-turn move into a 2-turn move, you just want to throw an odd number. Oh baby, we're able to Water Shriek and farm down, and the opponent sends out Feeble. Feeble going to be greeted with the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon does land. The second one, despite being debuffed, will knock him out, and we are not baiting. Hydro Cannon forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. We bank the Hydro Cannon, make the catch for no reason whatsoever, just for some style points. Night Slash moves Grimer from the field of play. As if I hadn't already got enough Protect Shields banked for next season, or the season after that, we managed to 1-shield flex. GG's to that opponent. Why is my voice cracking all over the place? You wouldn't think I'm 36, you'd think it's actually my 12-year-old son shoutcasting this, as his voice is currently breaking, and it is hilarious. Heading into the next battle, what is a regular Dragonair doing on my screen? I haven't seen one of these things in like forever. The opponent continued to stay in. I'm actually going to invest a Protect Shield. I'm waiting for the opponent to pivot, but no pivot happens. And at this point, I'm kind of forced to throw, or I'll just get Dragon Breath farm down, crunch, forced to Protect Shield, and the opponent is going to be forced to dump their energy. Well, if they don't like Dark, this should be good for Greninja. I'm going to wait on my clock, because I'm going to be switch locked, and the opponent is not. I'm going to send out Grimer. If the opponent lets me, we're going to get the Mud Slap farm down and leave with all the energy in the world. We're only one Mud Slap off double charge moves, but as the opponent sends out Claydol, I don't even want to take one single Mud Slap, so Greninja hits the field of play. I waste no time, fire off the Hydro Cannon. The Hydro Cannon goes unshielded, almost knocking him out, and out comes Primeape. Primeape going to be greeted with the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon forces the opponent's final protection. The opponent looks at that Karate Chop farm down. Greninja says no. Greninja, you absolute monster. Hydro Cannon picks up that one shot. Back out comes Claydol, and we're going to fire off the BM Sludge. Despite this being resisted, this is Sludge range, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see our old pal, Toxapex. So I saw a lot of people hating on Jonkus posting a Double Charm team, whilst I'm not a fan of Double Charm whatsoever. Firstly, I don't really like people disrespecting other content creators. I think Jonkus does so much work for this community. And secondly, I'm kind of benefiting as people are running Toxapex and Grimer is feasting. The opponent save switches into the balloon, and I send out Raticate. Whilst I could send out Greninja as the hexes would be resisted, Raticate actually triple resists the hexes and is objectively bulkier. You can see we tank 2 Icy Winds, no problem whatsoever. I am actually going to shield the next one, as I do really need to keep alignment. Ideally, we want Grimer on Toxapex and not Greninja. Fire off the next crunch, force the opponent, all shields down. Do I want Switch enough to go down both Protect Shields and leave Greninja shieldless? No thank you. I'm just going to send out Greninja, look for the farm down, the opponent actually not wanting to concede a farm down aggressively, pivot into Toxapex, and here comes Grimer. This works out perfectly for me. I've got a Hydro Cannon banked on Greninja for later. We're going to be able to knock out this Toxapex without even shielding. And we're actually going to knock out the balloon as well. As you can see here, I'm going to fully Mud Slap farm down. So if the balloon returns, I'm just going to knock him out with a Sludge. I'm looking top right. Does the balloon re-enter the arena? Yes, it does. Grimer going to claim back-to-back victims. I think more or less everything in the meta, we're going to be able to beat up a Protect Shield. The opponent sends out their own Greninja, and this is an easy dub. I'm going to fire off the Sludge, go for the wham, bam, combo play, give the opponent the Big Mac and the fries. They probably didn't order, and we take that game. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see a tough lead. We're going to utilise Shadow Raticate on the save switch, and the opponent sends out Togetic. Now, this is, of course, a fairy. However, they're not actually running Charm, so this is potentially flippable. And I'm thinking I might actually make a play for Switch. I think no one is going to throw a double resisted bait. Oh! My soul left my body. Who throws a Psyshock bait there? I hardly ever shield my save switch, and I am so sad. Nice bait, Mr. Opponent. What are you doing? They bait again! Trainer, you only got a Psyshock. We're actually going to flip Switch. Why would you keep Psyshocking? That was one of the strangest mid-game matchups ever, but I'm not complaining. We're able to take Switch in the one shield scenario. Fire for a crunch, getting the defense drop on Thickersby, and I now get the option to realign my Pokemon. Potentially this is Diggersby double fairy. As they're debuffed, I go for the Night Slash bait. Jamie Finn doesn't often bait, but evidently I'm the best master baiter in the world. As I force the opponent's final protection, they fire off the Scorching Sands. Here, I should throw the Night Slash on alignment, so I don't have to give up the final Protect Shield. We're going to invest a Protect Shield and then going to overfarm. Fire off the Night Slash. If it's double fairy, we just win as Grimer's easy going to win that in a zero shield matchup. It's actually a Dust Noir. We're going to fire off the Night Slash. Night Slash will be putting them into Mud Bomb range. We're going to pivot into Grimer. I'm looking at the health, and do you know what? They're actually in Sludge range. I know a lot of people don't like bad manners, but I don't take this game all that seriously. It is what it is, and we take that game. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Ferret in the lead position. Arguably 2 better responses in the back, but Greninja, of course, does have to be mindful that a Trailblaze, despite not getting same type attack bonus, would do a lot. We pivot into Raticate, the opponent dumps the Trailblaze, and then send out Pidgeot. Pidgeot users love to shield the first move, but as we're throwing crunches, they might not shield the first in case they get the defense drop. We're actually able to land that, and that kind of works for me. The opponent fires off the Air Cutter. Air Cutter simply doesn't get the job done. We're able to reach the next crunch, and the opponent is going to be forced to shield or just lose alignment. We're definitely going to take that. Winning that zero shield matchup, Raticate putting in work once again. I'm actually not going to send out Greninja here. I'm actually going to go Grimer. I'm going to look to force the first Protect Shield of the game, or just do big damage. If the opponent shields, I'm going to pivot. If they don't shield, we just stay in. We actually end up Simul swapping Greninja into Claydol. One move isn't lethal. We're going to go for the Night Slash, fishing for the boost. Night Slash forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, and this game is just simply over. I'm of course going to shield at the Rock Tomb. The opponent is going to lower my attack, but Greninja has a monstrous attack stat. That debuff actually works out brilliant for me, as this Hydro Cannon now isn't lethal, which means we're going to Water Shriek and farm down, leaving with the Hydro Cannon. Of course, I am going to go down both Protect Shields. However, we can just reset that debuff, pivot into Grimer. We're going to Mud Slap him into a range where Hydro Cannon definitely gets the job done. We're able to tank the Swift, get off one further Mud Slap. Fur it reasonably bulky, but certainly not bulky enough to survive a Hydro Cannon from this range, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, another Toxapex. Nice to see you nice. The opponent say switches into Diggersby, and Greninja hits the field of play. I'm going to go straight for the Hydro Cannon, wanting to get off as much damage as I physically can. So here I think you've got two choices. You can shield this move up, as they're definitely going to go Scorching Suns first. If you don't shield, you do need to throw this move on alignment, which I don't do. Because now I'm forced to shield up a Fire Punch, but I'm thinking that probably works for me. I can just Water Shriek and farm down, leave minimal farm for Toxapex. Oh, I misplayed that so badly. It ends up Simul KOing. I die with like 80 energy. We send out Raticate, and Greninja hits the field of play. This looks like a very tough game to win. Raticate tanks the Hydro Cannon. I'm thinking, should I bait? I'm thinking the opponent might look to call the bait. I actually full send the Hyper Fang, looking to guarantee the Protect Shield, or just simply knock him out. Okay, we're in the 1-to-1 shield. Grimer, little buddy, I invested 650,000 Stardust on you. You need to put in work. Here we get one turn bring in, and despite me misplaying heavily, if we don't get one turn bring in, we definitely win that battle. As the opponent would have took one further Mud Slap, being in a range where the next Mud Slap would knock out. However, the opponent kind of gives me a wink on again, as they don't shield the first move, which potentially means I can fully Mud Slap farm down. I did actually look for a good timing. I'm thinking, fuck it, we're just going to Mud Slap farm down. And the question now becomes, what should I do? Should I go for a denial myself? I do go for the denial, as I am doubled up. The opponent doesn't get one turn bring in, and that is a huge mistake. I could have just Mud Slap farm down. I think I just misplayed this all over the place. Game mechanics didn't help, but still, you've got to play to your win cons. Just a poor game all around from me. So basically, do as I say and not as I do, and you'd probably be a better battler than me heading into the next battle. Awful lead and a terrifying save switch. Shadow Typhlosion hits the field of play. At least on the plus side, Typhlosion users shield everything, and they're kind of obliged to shield a crunch, a Shadow and Shadow Crime that would knock out. I'm thinking, please Thunder Punch and allow me to reach the next crunch. Raticate, I thought you were thick, buddy. You let me down there. I'm thinking, should I fully sack Grimer? However, then I think I don't want to be permanently debuffed, so I'm going to shield up Grimer. I'm then going to snipe with some Water Shriekings, getting a running start. And I can always now reset that debuff, as Grimer is almost at full health. To my surprise, the opponent clearly don't want the smoke. Maybe Drifblim double fire. I've got no idea, but we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see another terrifying Pokemon. I was hoping the opponent instantly pivot out, thinking we're on Poison Jab. The opponent not falling for any of that nonsense. They check the quick move, which of course is what you should always do. We should have the Dynamic Punch, and the opponent sends out Dusknoir. Of course, they also have access to Dynamic Punch, but at least we're going to force our Protect Shield back here. As the opponent sent out a Hex user into something that triple resist Ghost, I'm team reading that this is going to be a double Ghost team, so Greninja is my win con. I'm going to send out Grimer, look to fire off the Mud Bomb. I'm hoping Mud Bomb's lethal, but if it's not the end of the world, so I can just tank this move, as one move is survivable. And again, we're going to snipe with Greninja and look to get a running start. Greninja hits the field of play. The opponent sends back out Cacturn. We're going to go for the Night Slash. Night Slash is resisted, but Cacturn, with a non-existent defense, gets knocked out. My team read happens to be a good one. I say I'm washed up, and I definitely think some of the plays there have been awful, but this time my team read is a good one. We get the world's most unnecessary boost. We're now 2-stage boosted. The opponent going to debuff me by 1 stage. We're still 1 attack stage boosted. We're able to Water Shriek and farm down Dusknoir and take that game. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's video. Firstly, huge shout out to Alpha Club for submitting the Alolan Grimer battles. If you want to see my level 51 Alolan Grimer without frustration, post it down below and I'll put it to work. I've also had a lot of fun replicating other people's teams. I think this brings quite a lot of value to the channel. As you can see today, I commented quite a few times. I think I'm one of my own harshest critics. I made a lot of mistakes playing unfamiliar Pokemon. But I think that kind of gives value to content. I think you need to watch content for one or two reasons. It needs to be entertaining or informative. Moving forward, hopefully I can get a nice combination of the two. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you'd like your battles featured on my channel, a link to a battle submission form is down below. And shout out to the police helicopter that's very noisy above my house. And I'll see you all in the next one.